Hi, my name is Laura, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the best ways to cut costs for weddings. As a 2024 bride, I was shocked at the prices. Firstly, I had no idea that the average cost of a wedding in the state of Texas is $33,000. That is crazy. That is about half of the median income for the whole state. Like, you should not have to spend 6 months of your salary to plan the wedding that you deserve. So, I would say that the year of wedding planning, while it was super stressful, I also found it really fun to find ways to cut costs because the wedding industry as a whole is constantly trying to nickel and dime you. They want your business and they will do anything for it. And with the rise of social media, it has really not helped that at all. You want all these cool things that you're seeing on social media, but those things are just not always doable. So if you have something that you want to do, but the price isn't there, I highly recommend looking into these costs to see what you can and cannot cut. So as a veteran, I'm putting my wisdom onto you that the three best things that you can do to save money for your wedding is the first one, plan for the off season. There is like a 6 month gap towards the winter months that there's really no huge group of weddings happening. So you might have like a wedding or two during the winter, but for the most part, it's going to be fully open, all your caterers, venues, and all that. And their prices are going to be dropped because they can't keep up with the demand in the summertime, but there is no demand in the winter. So those prices will usually drop about 30 to 40%, which is fantastic. The reuse, recycle everything that you can is also a great way to do it. Finding things that aren't necessarily supposed to be reused that you can reuse is a great way to help save you some money. And lastly, you're going to want to stock your own bar. And I'll get more into why and how to do that in this presentation, but it is a lifesaver. So let's start off first with the off season. So from the months of October to late April, mid-May, there are very few weddings going on. The busy season is anytime after that until like late September. Everyone wants a June wedding. I know, I had one and it was awesome, but the costs were a lot higher. So, like I said before, the lower costs on the venue are going to be fantastic. The more availability you have for a vendor, the better your chances are to get said vendor. So, we were able to get everything that we wanted, but that's because we planned so far in advance. So definitely shoot for the off season because everyone's going to be lower priced and more available, but also your loved ones are going to be more likely to come because there's less competition to see which wedding is more important to go to. So all of your loved ones are more likely to be there during those winter months. Also, the weather is a lot more reliable. We paid probably $500 in water bottles and ice alone because it was an outdoor wedding in June. It was crazy. You also have to think about that because these months there's less competition, your guest list is going to take into account the pricing. So the average cost for a wedding is about $284 a person. So you don't want to invite everybody that you know. You want to find a venue that can fit the people that are most important, the people you cannot do your wedding day without. Those people, get a count, find a venue. That's going to be your best bet because of how expensive it is to, get through the wedding process costs alone. Next, you're going to want to use, reuse, recycle. Anything that you can use or reuse, do it. The venues have decorations, they have tablecloths, they have anything that you need. Your venue will most likely have some form or version of it so that you can kind of pick and choose what you're going to use for the cost of the venue or what you're going to go out and buy. Places like Facebook Marketplace, Etsy, those are going to be your best friend because you're going to find people just trying to get rid of their wedding stuff because a lot of it you're never going to use again. So you being able to use other people's things is fantastic, especially at a discounted price. I took the flowers from my bridesmaids and I used them as centerpieces, and that saved us about $1,800, believe it or not. It was crazy. So highly recommend, use what your venue has, check secondary sellers, and be creative about what you're willing to recycle. It was actually really fun for me to figure out ways to use what we had already bought in other areas as the night went on. Lastly, you're going to want to stock your own bar. It sounds like a lot of work, but it really wasn't. We went up to Specs and we spent about $1,600 on alcohol, and we were able to return what we didn't open afterwards. So minus the refund that we got on that, I think in all we spent less than $1,000 on drinks for a 100-person wedding, which is crazy good. We were able to do this because we knew what our friends and family were going to drink, as opposed to a bartending caterer service that just kind of gives you a plethora of things. And so you have all these drinks that no one's drinking, but you're not getting a refund for that because you paid this flat fee of $2,000 or whatever the catering service offered. That is where you're going to save money as well, because people love to drink. You don't need as many drinks when it's cold outside, going back to the off season. So I highly recommend this as another source of money saving. And these are the citations. If you have any more questions on that, you can find hundreds of websites that are willing to do that for you. Thank you.